what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Premiere Uncut. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. And before I hand over to both Discord and Google Plus Hangouts on air, I'm going to do a very quick shout out to all of the people who currently support me on Patreon. So big shout out to Alistair, BG Flat, Billy High Vault, Brooke, Stone Cypher, hope I've said your name correctly, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, big shout out to you, Chow Young Cat, Dank, David Wayne Foster, Edwin, Felix, Fireball X, Godrockin, Jeronism, Kirsten, Matt, Michael, Paige, Qatar Craig, Renee, Sam, Sweet Equity, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, and Tina Baker. Really appreciate all of your support. So let's raise the mic on Google Plus and Discord and see how we're getting on.
Where at that point the device should have started working.
Oh, really?
Higher. Yes, of course.
So you're claiming that barometers can only ever function with mercury?
Well, how else are they
That's your
used?
claim?
No, I'm asking how. I've never. What other way are they used?
Well, they're probably using electronics that measure
Electricity.
maybe perhaps a micro vacuum chamber. I don't know how the hell they do the
Right. So you
high-tech
persecute me
barometers.
for something that you don't
But it's
know.
derived from the original concept of material
So I
pressure.
receive persecution for something you don't know, Armin.
Spurs, does your argument fall apart if it gets hotter the higher you go?
Not completely, but as I'm saying now, when it reached minus 50.
No, can I ask you? You're fighting that it gets
Yeah,
colder the higher
possibly,
you
but
go.
not necessarily, because again, we have a local sun. The sun is not 93 million miles away, so that area.
No,
could have well been heated by-
no. You said temperature is the container, and you
No, I
meant
didn't. That's
cold.
what David said.
Excuse me. Let me finish. You said cold temperature. Cold temperature acts as a container.
No,
Now,
I
if you
didn't.
go higher, and it gets warmer, how does that work?
I didn't say there's a container.
To be
You haven't heard
truthful,
me say
Yes,
it
you
is what
did.
it is what David said. I'm not sure if I heard Spurs say that exact thing,
No,
but I know
keep telling
David has.
I keep telling David.
Okay,
stop
let me ask
saying
you a
it.
direct question, Spurs. Is there a container where gas pressure is where you have gas pressure, or is it just temperature? Which one is it for you?
It's just temperature, yeah. There's no
Okay, so you said it. Stop avoiding it.
What do you mean?
Oh my gosh.
So you're saying that where we live now, there's a barrier. Temperature is acting a barrier in this atmosphere.
No, that's
I'm
what
asking
you're
you-
saying, you idiot.
I'm asking you a question. You sidestepped it. Chocolate came in, and now you agree with it. Which position do you hold? Is
Well, you
there a
don't know
container?
my position on this, right? I haven't said whether it's open, whether it's closed. You know, I'm working my way
Waste
from
our time
bottom.
and not share your actual.
You're
No,
wasting
you
our
have
time.
the preconceived idea
That
of
is
what's up there. I
perceived.
haven't done any of that. I've started
You-
from the bottom and
You
worked
did
my
a
way
whole
up.
show on
I'm just about-
Ranty.
Well, you carry on then.
You did a whole show on Ranty trying to say that temperature is the container.
I didn't say temperature is the container.
What is the container?
There is no container.
So what's keeping in the gas? What's it bouncing off of to have pressure?
Again, keeping in.
What's
if
the
I-
pressure caused by?
What pressure?
Exactly. See, I
There we
told
go.
you,
You're just-
our
you're-
schemo is on a total
Well, again,
deconstructivist
before anyone
to
again,
destroy
look,
all
all of
knowledge.
this is
Total
speculation. What's up there? What
reversal.
do
The
you
guy
think? Make
is
a claim, make an
literally trying
assumption.
to drag you all
Rumpusing each
into
other.
I'm not going to
insanity.
I can't hear what's being said.
Let him.
Hello?
He will drag you all the way.
Didn't hear any of that.
Hey, Nathan. Well, look, I'm not getting dragged into speculation. If you want speculation as like just to speak without you jumping down my throat, then that's one thing. But if you want me to make a claim about something that I've never been there, but from the ground, working our way up as far as 120,000 feet, we can make logical observations and understands, because that's where we've been. That's as far as we've seen. Is that balloon? When that balloon pops, that's it. The show's over. It's back down to where you start all over again. Now you're making claims above that. Who's been above that? Nobody. So we don't know how it works. We can. I have an idea.
Maybe they figured out something.
That idea,
further.
it's just an idea. So again, I can't even bring that forward. All we can work with is what we have in this atmosphere that is not pressurized.
Can you demonstrate
It is
in
pressurized.
this natural world?
That is not pressurized.
Yeah, that's what he said at the end. It is pressurized. He's just wrong.
Look,
First-
guy,
Is that what the model? Is that what the model says? Is that what the particle model says?
I don't know what the model says, and I don't care.
No, but your understanding of atoms bouncing is from a model. Did you know this?
No. There's several natural laws, like Boyle's law. That's
What are
specifically
you denying now, Adams?
pressure.
No, he's
the
denying Adams
container.
now. Is that what you're doing, Spurs?
No, I'm just asking. This understanding, is it from a model?
Is it from a model?
Yeah, of atoms, particles, molecules. Is there a model of how these things work?
No. Nathan just
I don't
told
need-
you.
I don't need
from
a
I'm not
model.
asking you, I'm asking John.
He just told you, Spurskimo. It's derived from natural
Nathan
law.
may not know this. This is what I'm trying to say. When you understand
keep on
anything that's
carrying
you,
everything. I'm so sick
why
of
are you
this.
shouting all the time?
Yeah.
God.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't come from a model. It comes from observations and demonstrations. And then after observations and demonstrations are made, then some people make models of these things, right? Is that your question?
Okay,
It doesn't
fine.
come
Again,
from
again,
a model.
I just want to hear,
A-
the
a-
answer.
a
Again,
model-
I'm not arguing
Oh
about
my
this
God.
because I don't know any more than the next guy, and I'm just trying to find out
What's your
how
claim,
are we.
Spurs?
Mhm.
What's your claim?
As far as I'm aware, I do not feel any pressure. Now, if you're saying there is, I just would like a simple demonstration of atmospheric, not water, not liquid, atmospheric pressure.
Yeah,
Can I
it's
address
called
the lack
a
of feeling real quick?
barometer. I already told you that a few days ago. Why are we still here? Did you go to Pete and Pete's like I suggested?
No. Again,
Wait a minute.
Well, you need to go there. You need to take your posse of, I don't know what you call yourselves, and head on over to Pete and Pete's. Thanks.
I addressed this yesterday, and since you're here, Spurs, I will address it again. Why don't you feel pressure? That's your question. And because you don't feel pressure, wait a minute. Because you don't feel pressure, you don't think there is pressure, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I want you to sit real still. Don't move. Don't move your arms. Don't move your legs. Don't move anything. Try to move your head. Okay. Are you sitting real still?
Yeah, sure.
Do you feel your clothes?
Yes, that's real pressure. Yes.
I mean, seriously, you feel your clothes on your skin.
Well, I can feel my t-shirt. Yeah, no, it's on me. Yeah, my trousers. Yeah.
I mean, do you actually? You may look down and see it, but do you actually feel it?
Yeah. Now you put it in my mind. I can feel around. Yeah. No, I didn't feel it like when I wasn't thinking about it, but now I'm thinking about it.
Oh, interesting. Wait a minute. You said something very important. You said when I'm not thinking about it, I don't feel it.
Good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that their body has a mechanism in the brain that tunes out certain things? Like, for instance,
Yeah,
that's why.
of course.
Okay. Because if you were constantly aware of that thing, that's all you would be thinking about.
Mhm.
So you have to tune out. That's why you don't necessarily feel your clothes when you're not thinking about it, because you're tuning it out.
Mhm.
Okay. Same thing with pressure. When you're in
Not
equilibrium,
necessarily.
when you're at equilibrium, hang on.
Sometimes
I'm not done.
All
Spurs,
right.
I'm not done.
Go on. Just a quick
When
point. Go on.
when I move, I start to feel my clothes because there's a slight disequilibrium. So I feel like I'm moving my head now, and I feel my collar on my neck. But I'm sitting here still. I don't really feel my shorts, my shirts, my underwear. I don't feel that. But if I move my head, I feel a slight disequilibrium in my neck, so I feel my collar. So the reason you don't feel pressure is because you're at equilibrium. The moment you start feeling pressure when there's a disequilibrium, then you notice it.
Yeah,
That's why you don't feel pressure.
that's one. Well, that's one answer. And another answer is that we have an internal pressure of 14.7.
You're at equilibrium. You're feeling internal, and external pressure. It's at equilibrium. When you change that, remember we've been talking about this all day. When you notice and measure, the reason there's gauges is because we're trying to measure the pressure differential. That's what the gauges are for.
Mm-hmm. So you agree we have 14.7 internally?
Now, the 14.7 is an arbitrary number we've just given a value to, but there is pressure that we exist in.
But what number would you give, Paul?
Depends on the mechanism I want to use to measure it.
But that's what I'm asking for. This is how you would demonstrate, right? If you could put your number to how much pressure there really, in reality, is there a real number of pressure? Or there's not
a number that you put to a pressure is an arbitrary number. I can put the pressure to 0 if I'm at equilibrium. I can put it at negative when it goes, when the pressure is reduced. I can put it at high or positive when the pressure increases.
Yeah.
The number is an arbitrary number.
Yes, it's just the same like with the distances on a ruler.
Yeah. It's based on a convention. It could be either metric or English. You're just talking about conventions here. You're just quibbling over nonsensical buffoonery.
No, I'm just asking if it has a weight, or does it have a real number, or it's just any number you want?
We already just told you that, so
it's any number you want. Okay.
Which it's not any number you want. It's based on convention.
When Paul gave you the answer the second time, Spitters, so he said it's a convention, it's arbitrarily assigned.
Yeah.
Did that sentence not make sense to you?
Well, yes, because if it's arbitrary, then it's just whatever he thinks, right? It doesn't matter.
No. The numbering.
Any unit of measurement has, at least by someone, been arbitrarily decided.
But that's why I asked Paul specifically, can he give his number of how much weight of pressure there is? His number.
It doesn't. Oh God.
So you just give any. Is there a number? Would he have put a number to the pressure that we were feeling, or he wouldn't?
Yeah, but even if he does, he calls it 17, or he calls it 3 million. What difference does it make if it's on a scale and less is 2 million and more is 4 million, or less is 12 and more is 19? It doesn't matter.
Right. As long as you're on the same sheet of music, you're not mixing like I said, as long as you're on the same sheet of music and you're not mixing conventions. If you do that, then you have to find equivalence and you have to do dimensional analysis. However, that has no bearing on your argument whatsoever. Are you not seeing this?
To be honest, I mean, again, I'm just trying to get a simple answer from Paul. If I have a weight, let's say I'm, 20 stone, are you just saying that's just an arbitrary? I should disregard that number? It's just an arbitrary.
No, that's not what he's saying.
Okay, so that is, to Paul, that is a weight, 20 stone.
It's a convention used for communication, so we're all on the same page. If I'm in the United States and I say, hey, I got a 20 kilogram weight here, well, then the person in Europe and China that knows what kilograms are knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a convention. That's all. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
If no one knew what stone was, then it'd be a meaningless number. But since we know how much a stone is, and we've agreed on that convention, then it does make sense.
Exactly. You got it. It's agreement on a convention. That's all it is. Now you're down into conventions. What is your claim?
So, what number does Paul apply to that conventional way of understanding things? If it's not,
okay, I'll give him one. But I need the panel to agree on it. Would you guys agree with whatever number I came up with?
Yes, I'll agree with whatever number you arbitrarily assign, Paul. Yes.
Okay, I am at 0.
I agree.
0 pressure.
I am also at 0. I agree with that convention.
Zero, zero, zero.
No, 0 is probably the one thing I wouldn't agree to, but
So right now, Paul,
You
you're
bastard.
saying that
if we're
You
talking
awkward
about gauge
bastard,
pressure,
Arwin. Just
So
play
Arwin,
along.
I mean, not Arwin,
sorry,
Paul.
I don't do well under peer
We
pressure.
agree, Paul. Right now is 0. Yes.
You just told me to give you a number. Okay, I'll make it. I'm gonna change it. Let's make it 1. Will you guys agree with 1? Let's make it 1.
I agree with
go with
1.
1. Yeah, you can
Yes,
go with
1
1.
is good.
1's okay.
And now what? Spurs, go ahead.
Input to the computer 1. Yeah.
Okay.
What computer?
Now your
Hold on,
device
hold on. I'm lost already. What computer?
The device that will take the readings.
The measuring instrument.
Yeah, the measuring instrument. Doesn't matter. We're going to start with 1. If Paul wants to start
Okay,
with 1.
so what you're saying is let's say there's a tube with a liquid in it and it's going to be forced up the tube. What you're saying is you put a little scratch on at a particular point that we all decide on and put a number 1 next to it. Okay, yeah, good with that.
Let's go. Okay, go ahead, Spurs.
Yeah. So yes, and now I know how you're coming. So you're saying that when you go up to the mountains, this will read 14.7 because obviously in reverse.
No.
no,
I'm not
because we're
saying
not
that.
using that convention. It'll read something less than 1.
It'll be 0.7.
Oh, you're going to go down. Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 divided by that number, rather.
No, it'd be subtracting. Remember to be
Never
subtracting
mind.
because you're losing pressure, so it's subtracting.
Spurs, does
Yeah, but if we're
Yes,
starting
does the
here
pressure
at
not
zero,
decrease as
This
you
new
raise in
scale we've
altitude?
invented, where sea level is 1, has nothing to do with 14.7. We're using a
yeah,
completely
but this is what
different.
I'm saying.
unit
Hold on,
system.
hold on. If we're starting at
Exactly.
1 and we go up, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's
No.
our starting
No,
point.
we're
Because
not
as you
agreeing
go-
on
as you go
I
up,
don't
not
agree with
agreed
that
on
convention.
Oh, you don't agree on that. You want to go backwards, minus. Why?
Yeah, because
Well,
pressure
because it's a
decreases as
It
you
doesn't
go up.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Spurs.
It
Didn't
makes
you
no
do a whole
difference.
thing on pressure? Do you not know that pressure decreases as you raise in altitude?
It wouldn't matter in this convention, right? If
Doesn't
Spurs wants
matter,
to say that,
Chocolate.
hold
If you
on,
go on
hold
numbers-
on,
we could
hold
define
on.
the scale to
If
go up
Spurs
and
wants to
one.
say the scale goes up in numbers, and therefore if you went down, it would go lower theoretically, then fine. You could arbitrarily say that what is essentially described verbally as a decrease in pressure is number 2. And then if there's a further decrease in pressure, it's a number 3. It doesn't matter in the slightest.
That's fine.
But then you
Right.
go
This
by
is
a
the
half-life
unpressure
scale.
That's why I asked why do you need to go minus. We can just go with any arbitrary style or fashion or method. So we can
Yeah,
go 1.
thank God he's got there in the end. Yes, arbitrary, correct.
Right. So, Paul, you're saying that you start from up with your gauge where it's 0, you go down and the pressure increases and it ends up 14.7.
No, because we haven't agreed on the convention, so I can't say that.
So are we setting the rules then for the world now? What we should agree on? What are we going to agree on here?
These are the rules of
I mean,
general
This is a thought
conversation.
experiment.
These are
These
the
are
Spurs,
just
we're
the
not
rules
saying
we
rules
made
for
up
the world.
today, and they're-
That's
This
the
is
thing about
basically. Hold
arbitrary.
on, let me just
It's
get
our
this
world.
one through. Hold on,
It's our world.
hold on.
All right, it's our world.
Spurs.
Yeah.
Spurs. This isn't like some strange rules we've made up. This is basic rules of communication.
Right. Yeah, this is our world. Right. Okay, fine. So that's what I'm saying. So, Chucky, you can't say, oh, we need to go back to their world. We have to stick within our world, our rules, and we're deciding 1 is the starting point. Right?
It's not
Paul?
When did I
rules
say
as
ever
much as
that?
it's just an established set of units, right? Like we came up with this random 1 and then going up when you go up and stuff like that. The only difference between that and the whole 14.7 psi thing is that they're using psi, and we know what that means. It's pounds per square inch. So the reason we use that is because it's something that people generally understand already.
Okay, so that's
you
what
want
I
me to
was
use Tor,
agreeing with
we
that.
could use-
I agree with the 14.7. Paul doesn't. He's saying it's arbitrary.
Because it's a
Oh,
Number
convention.
my
14.7
God.
is arbitrary only
Oh my
because the definition of the inch and the definition of the pound are arbitrary. They're just things that some humans came up with a long time ago. That's
So
what he
can you
means by
ask
arbitrary.
Paul then
Oh.
what he agrees with? What metric system, what number system does he agree with?
Well, I'm
Doesn't
in the
matter.
U.S., so I'm gonna.
If we're talking
I'm
about
in the U.S.
14.7, then I'd suggest I'd probably say it's PSI or the imperial system.
Well, I'm in the U.S., so if I want to agree with one, then I guess I should agree with the U.S. measuring system.
Okay.
But the important
Now,
thing
when
is
I'm
you
in
don't just
UK,
have to agree with
when I'm
one
in
of them.
You
Well, I mean, you
agree
can't.
with-
Like I could
You-
say that sea level atmospheric pressure is both 14.7 psi and 101.25 kilopascals.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
those are both correct because they're in
760
different-
torr.
Hmm?
And 760 torr. You see all those different units, Spurs?
Yes,
They're
of
all
course.
correct because they're different units.
Yeah, but Emerald knows where his numbers come from, which is the force of gravity. 9.8 meters per
Oh,
second.
no.
Hold on. We've regressed. Spurs, let's just try this once more. You've had it done by 2 different people. I'm going to try and do it a third way. In your whatever room you've got a chair. Would you agree? You're sat on a chair, hopefully, right now, correct?
Yes.
Right. Now, when we measure that chair, we're not debating whether or not the chair actually exists. We're just going to measure it. Now, the
Precisely.
numbers could be inches or centimeters. And it makes no odds which number, so long as you and I agree which number we're going to use. Because
Yeah,
if I say it in centimeters and you're writing down inches, we're going to have a problem. So it's just a way of communicating. A convention is a descriptive collective, in this case, centimeters, for our agreed terminology. Now, whether or not I term it in one or the other doesn't change the fact that we're just going to be measuring something that does actually exist. You sat in it. How it's termed doesn't change its reality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call that object in the middle of the room
Well
not a
said.
chair. I'm going to call it a flabbergaster. That's what I'm going to call it. It's not a chair. It's a flabbergaster.
We're talking about the atmosphere, Paul. The atmosphere. Can we stick to the atmosphere?
I'm going to call the atmosphere bubbles.
No, it's the atmosphere. We all agree
Blob
it's called
of
the atmosphere.
gas.
The atmos, at least. There was an atmos.
No. My convention is that the air is bubbles.
And
Oh, this
there
is going to turn out well.
What he's trying to
Is there
do,
a way-
Spurs, let me just draw a quick conclusion to this, Spurs. He's trying to say that if he uses a completely insignificant made-up convention for something, then you're going to talk past each other. Because you want to say atmosphere, he wants to say bubbles. Because you're not on the same page, you're not using the same convention. That's all he's trying to illustrate to you.
Right, so Paul, let's get on the same page. How much pressure, what number that we all can agree on is pressing on our bodies?
Okay, the current
Are you
convention
okay with
that everyone
PSI?
agrees to is
1.
14.
If you're okay with
14 pounds per
PSI, then
point.
14.7. If you're okay with kilopascals, then 1,000.
Yeah, we'll deal with PSI for now.
Okay,
So-
then 14.7 per square inch on your body.
Okay. Paul,
Pounds per
because
square.
you have this pressure, Emerald, because of gravity, right?
No.
I didn't say anything gravity.
I
didn't
don't.
say
I'm
anything
saying
It's
about
not just
gravity.
me who has this
Emerald.
pressure. I don't live in like an isolated tank. This is the established sea level atmospheric pressure.
Yeah,
So
but
if
I'm
you live
saying
near or at sea
gravity is
level,
pulling the
you're
atmosphere
experiencing this
down,
pressure
right,
too.
Emerald?
Well, wait a minute, Emerald. He's talking to me, so technically this is a setback. He actually asked me the question. So,
I know,
Spurs,
because Paul
Spurs,
doesn't
I
have
said
gravity.
nothing about gravity that's causing the
Yeah.
pressure. I've not said anything about that.
Yeah,
No,
Paul doesn't think that the atmosphere is being pulled down, Emerald. You see, you do.
Well, wait a minute. See, now he's
Okay,
talking. He's
that
talking to
may
me.
be true,
now
but
he's
that
talking to
doesn't have to
Emerald.
do with
Who's
the
he
current
talking to?
conversation.
No, Emerald.
the gravity question
Look,
he's
I'm not going to let him
putting
do it.
to Emerald.
Hold on,
Okay.
Chocolate. I'm just not going to let you do it, Spurs. It doesn't matter what his position is in another respect. That's not what's being discussed. So you trying to drag him into a new argument about his belief of something else is regardless of this it's irrelevant to this conversation, and he's right.
No, that's my point. Is that he shouldn't really be getting involved because he has gravity. Paul doesn't. So
He's not talking
Paul-
about gravity, though, is he? He hasn't mentioned it
But
once.
the cause of the pressure is irrelevant as to whether or not it exists or not, and how we measure it. So that's why it's not really relevant to this conversation.
But actually,
Yep.
yeah, you need to have a cause to a pressure. So your cause is gravity.
Okay, but whether we're talking about what causes it or
Alright,
not, we can still
But
discuss how
Spurs,
the
you realize
mechanism
that's a different.
exists.
That's like a different conversation, right? We were just
It's-
having a conversation on measuring the thing,
It's
whether
a
or not it
total
exists.
straw man. It's
Now-
a total straw man.
Now you're trying to establish a cause. So this is a
No, I agree with that. I haven't
Different
argued
conversation
with
when we ask that, right?
I'm not arguing that, Chuck, but I'm kind of waiting to move on past that.
He's,
Fine.
he's,
They're
he's using
arbitrary
global
Okay,
obfuscation
cool.
tactics right now. So for the audience's benefit, all that he's done is pulled Paul away from his original assertion, used a straw man on a different panel member. I want to get it back on track. Paul was well on track. Now it's been obfuscated by Spurs.
I apologize. Let's get back on track.
And you asked me a question, then you deflected the emerald, so I don't even know where we're at now.
Because I was trying to make it clear, Emerald, stop joining with the Paul. You have a different view.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Stop
In this
telling us
respect,
these freaking lies
true.
about us.
In this
We
respect,
may
so
have a
far,
different view of the
Machine.
cause of the atmospheric pressure, but that doesn't mean we have a different view on how to measure it using different unit systems.
precisely. We're not arguing the cause. You're asserting one, Spurs, and he's arguing against. He doesn't need to make any assertions about the cause to crap on yours. And I'll support him, regardless of his views on the sphericity or otherwise of Earth. In terms of gas pressure and your assertions that you're making, he's right and you're wrong. End of.
Well, that can't be true because his reason is gravity, which has nothing to do
See,
with
you've done it
why.
again. That's a straw man.
God.
That's a straw man twice. Same straw man, doubling down on it.
All right, let's get back on track. Paul, what was you saying? Let's hear what you have to say.
No, I'm. You asked me a question. I don't even remember what it was now.
Because
then you shifted it to
so
to gravity, and I made no claim about gravity.
okay, fine. But I asked you the
attributing
question
something
was,
to me.
do you agree to 14.7 of pressure pressing on our bodies?
Yes, as that
Okay,
convention. Yeah.
now we're in business, you see. Now we can say you agreed to this. Can you demonstrate how you derived this number? You see?
The little clarification. He's not agreeing to
the ball earth has to
14.7
step in.
of
This is
pressure.
the point, you see.
You have to say
You have your
14.7
gravity.
Lite.
You have gravity, Emerald. Fine, keep your gravity, keep your magical force. We don't have magic. So, Paul, I would like to know
How we came to 14.7 psi? Is that what you're asking me? What are you asking me, Spurs?
Nothing. He's asking nothing.
What he's asking you to do is prove gas pressure exists. So that's what he's asking you to do.
And the way I've already kind of told him how to prove it. Oh, he's gone. He dropped. Either somebody kicked him or he dropped.
He's equivocating between proving gas pressure and measuring gas pressure with a convention in his phraseology. So he says, what's your number? How do you prove that number's real? Equivocating between the measurement of something and its actual existence. That's all this is, a clumsy equivocation with loads of straw man thrown in for good measure.
Well, and I've already said
probably
how you
stick a
prove it.
barometer into a balloon and then start squeezing the balloon, and you see the dial.
Sounds
move.
familiar? Hey, John.
Well, and I've already, I'll say it if you want me to say
Oh,
it. I've
boy.
already told him you actually remove the pressure or increase the pressure. That's how you prove it. I don't know what else to say.
Boy, you really train wrecked the our argument. Unbelievable yesterday, Paul, with you putting up your spreadsheet. The ballers are going crazy because they were saying that you failed to identify the pressure lowering as you went up in altitude, and that destroys the argument. That's the big thing now. Of course, that's just gas pressure gradients, right? Listen, ballers, we're not denying gas pressure gradients for like the 850,000th time. Okay?
Can I say it?
Gas, go ahead.
Which comes first, X or delta X? Which comes first, gas pressure or gas pressure gradient? Without having a gas pressure in the first instance, it's not going to form a gradation. You've got to have gas pressure first. Our question being either, depending on the argument, where'd you get the gas pressure? Or
You just
You
how'd
gotta
you have
get a
gas
container
pressure?
first.
Without a container, right on, Arwin. Exactly.
wanted to say delta X.
I did. You're right.
So wait a minute. So I train wreck it. I was just trying to show data. I don't get it. I mean,
Yeah,
No.
the knucklehead Dean, Stingray Dean, Toe Tag Dean, the knucklehead, said yesterday that he just popped into the show, and just magically the chart was up showing the far right hand column and you scrolling down, and as it went up in elevation, the pressure decreased. And all us retarded flat earthers didn't mention that. Well, Dean, toe tag, knucklehead, retard, that's not our argument. Our argument is, how do you have gas pressure without a container? How do you have gas pressure gradients without a container? Dean, retard.
Oh, you
Get
mean
it,
Dean?
baller?
We've measured and proven space-time, Dean. That guy. Right.
Well, actually, in the presentation, I did say that the pressure is reducing. I did say that, but it's actually fluctuating if you look at the meter. So the pressure fluctuates even if it's at
Yeah,
high
but
altitude.
we didn't focus on that, Paul. They were saying that we were, how would you say, not looking in that direction purposely.
Oh yeah, like we care.
For real.
FYI, if you're watching, so that's FED toe tag 344, Dean, and his fundamentalist sphere belief. So check it out. It's got quite a few views for a toe tag. 3,500 views that toe tag's had.
Yeah, it deserves it. When are you coming back to model Ranty's 18-mile observation there, Dean?
He's
You
already done
didn't
it.
come back after that.
Yeah, he didn't come back after he modelled out the sphere and it failed miserably on Ranty's observation. It was really handy to see him modelling it and it failing miserably, and him having to concede that as flat earthers, no explanations required for seeing a building. For him, it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of Barrow Infinesse beyond Earth curve that we cannot see, measure, or observe in any way. But that's a fundamentalist religious belief for you.
All right, I'm probably gonna head out. It's been real nice talking to y'all. Hopefully, if I'm gone, Spurs will have no incentive to derail the conversation further. So, hopefully, in that regard,
no
things
more
progress.
incentive
If
to
y'all
do
are- if y'all
anything
ever
because
wanna
they
return to
kicked
that.
him.
No,
Later,
that's a bridge too far. It doesn't matter if you're here. It's going to get derailed.
Oh, all right.
He's not
See
here,
you guys
actually.
later.
Thank you, Emerald.
Oh, he
Very
isn't.
Appreciate your support in this regard.
See you guys.
I wonder what happened to the guy that explained how the pressure manifests because of the thinner air layer above it. I thought that was brilliant.
What happened to Spurs? Was it Spurs' claim? Because on your graph that you showed, was that Dwayne Callum? Was that what you were saying?
Yeah, I got it from Dwayne directly. He sent me the Excel spreadsheet. So.
Where's Mr. Mount Everest? And it gets colder as we go up. Where's
I
that
kicked him
guy?
out. He got smashed by Paul really concisely, and he just left huge pauses when he was being asked to look at the information or concede anything, and then he went off track and started asking questions, etc. Usual obfuscation. But then he started spouting globehead assertions about gravity, just in the face of being demolished. I was like, what's going on? He started literally spouting out rhetoric.
At some point, he even called Paul an agent, which was pretty funny because he's sitting here claiming to be a flat earther, and he's saying that the container is cold temperature. So yeah,
So Paul's an agent.
According to David Dallas or whatever he's called, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great
controlled
defense.
opposition.
Are you an agent, like an adult arm
Hey,
of
hey,
the Baby Geniuses agency?
The Adam Meakin, how's your clutch?
Ah,
Mate,
did you hear my joke?
gotta get rid of the Porsche.
Got to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Just because of the clutch?
Two.
Just because of the clutch?
Yeah, $2.5 grand, mate. Even the garage says, stop it. He says, I don't mind taking money off you, but enough's enough. Then someone else will go next. So,
I don't know if you watch this guy. There's a guy called Scotty on YouTube he's a mechanic and he just talks about the cars he fixes. Like, there's loads of them, but he's one of the most popular ones. And he said the least reliable or the biggest money pit car you could buy would be a Cayenne. Is that what you've got?
yeah. Yeah.
He said you're just constantly pouring thousands into it if you own it.
Well, it cost me 17 grand 6 or 7 years ago, and I've probably spent 6 on it over the time.
Jeez.
So it's not too bad over the years, but
Right.
I'm going for
What
an
is it?
Infinity.
What is it?
60, maybe.
The 4x4
What is it?
Porsche.
A Yugo?
Porsche 4x4, like a big. It's like an M5.
Oh, Yugo.
sort of size.
I remember those things.
Hey, Adam. Have you
Hey,
been going out on?
mate.
Have you?
Come
Hold
on,
on a
give me
second.
the
I got a
green
question for Adam. Hey, Adam, you've been going out on the circuit trying to explain to people why deflated tires won't spontaneously inflate.
I had a chat with Ranty this morning for breakfast. So yeah, it's I was just trying to prompt. I think Paul's doing a great job, a very patient job as well. So it's frustrating to listen to, John. I was thinking, I can see why you get so bloody angry sometimes, mate, because it's exceedingly frustrating listening to the debates at the moment because people are arguing out of a misunderstood point for me.
Pure ignorance.
I don't know. I really feel like Spurs is literally trying to derail reality. Sorry, I can't make anything else of it. He's not trying to fix a point. He's not trying to fix his oversight. He's constantly making these weird, loose conclusions that don't have any tie-in with each other. He's all over the place, claims gas pressure, then disclaims gas pressure in the same sentence, and he's not fixing it. He's continuing to do just that for weeks.
I predicted this outbreak. Mystic Meg predicted this.
I was just about to mention this. I was just about to lead you on to this. Excellent timing.
Yeah, Mystic Meg predicted this. In fact, it was right around the time I went on Iron Realm Media. I don't know if those guys, Adam, do you remember that? I predicted this.
Yeah, I remember you saying it. The biggest threat is going to come from our own.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's frustrating because I think
I already started to see it coming when Spurs Schemo started to get really cozy with the ballers in this weird psychologist mood. That's when it started. He already started to go
not
off
necessarily
the rails,
just
and this
Spurs.
is just worse.
We're not saying just Spurs. Maybe
Yeah, but he started it.
Hold on, Owen. QE, if you can just summarise what you mean, just so no one else is like, no, I thought Spurs would go off the rails or whatever. I'm not knocking you, Owen. You're right, but this is a bit more broad in terms of what QE predicted several months ago.
It was about a year ago. I can't even remember when we did that show, but it was even before that. I had come up with that because you just have to take a step back. Sometimes even for me, it's difficult to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I just seen little examples here and there, right? And then some of the people started to take those examples. Some of the bigger players started to take those examples and try to drill down out of pure ignorance, right? And I said, uh-oh, this is going to get bad. It goes with the hyper skepticism, right? Now, hyper skepticism in itself isn't a bad thing, right? If it's used as a tool. But I've seen these people, they develop it as an entire philosophy, hyper skepticism. That's where you head off the rails. So that's
when you use it to deflect everything, then you just go into solipsism.
Yeah, it'll get real bad. Yep, I seen.
That's why I call what Spurs Schemo is going through a total solipsistic reversal.
Well, can you summarise that? What, for the audience's benefit, what is solipsism, Marwin?
Solipsism is basically a state of mind you end up with when you start erasing everything you think you know or you believe until there is nothing left and you're left with the conclusion that everything you know and experience is basically fake. And you can't trust anything. So you completely retract with your conscious. And you become apathetic.
Well, there's a bit more. It's a bit more concise.
Okay,
it's the idea that only you exist. So the old brain in a jar or whatever, that would be akin to the idea. But it's the idea that
that's a pinnacle.
You only experience what you experience. Therefore, you are all that exists. That's kind of solipsism, as I understood it.
Right. Yeah, that's the end result.
And this goes back not the solipsism. You're correct. This goes back. this has deeper underpinnings in another topic that we've talked about before. Remember when I always started the presentations off with the pseudosciences? Paleontology, archaeology, anthropology, geology, evolutionary biology, astrophysics, cosmology, astronomy, theoretical physics. They are demonstratable pseudosciences, right? But you see, when ignorant people figure out that, oh my God, these people are lying to me, and they put the banner of science over them, then the real sciences, quantum mechanics, chemistry, biochemistry, they put that basket of the real sciences, because it's science too, under the banner of the pseudosciences. Now they're all pseudosciences, they're all lying, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, that
You
would be
guys?
that would absolutely be my conclusion. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater, hyper-skepticism. Yeah, perfect summary. But yeah, you called it months ago. You said, I think the way you summarized it was, say the enemy will come from within. It'll be our own side that start coming up with the nonsense that discredits all of us.
Well,
Exactly.
Well, to be fair, and I consider myself not one of these solipsists, basically. There are issues with biology, despite the scientific nature of that, and with quantum mechanics, some, but I'm still not completely through it. But I'm not declaring them pseudosciences outright. I'm just saying there may be some more issues here and there.
Hold on a second. I want to hear Adam's response. But it's what people call science and are actually pseudoscience. That's the point. But I want to hear Adam's response. This is biology.
I would just say there's a huge difference between you, Arwen, which is a very good understanding of something where you're questioning your understanding of stuff, like with quantum mechanics.
Yes. And biology.
As opposed to a good example to me is where we take mainstream science, which is, scientifically backed, experimentally backed, which is basics of chemistry. And you've got Pete and Peter just taking that apart and not holding any of the experimental truths that hold true there, and ignoring and abandoning them as well. And that's the extreme, I think, that we're going to, where we're binning the baby with the bathwater. And
right. Overgeneralization.
Overgeneralized sweeping statements that everything we've learned historically is nonsense, and therefore we should ignore all of it. And there's right. It gets to the point, it gets that argument, doesn't it, where the Pete and Peter argument is validated by, well, have you seen an atom? No, we haven't. But we're not describing what an atom looks like. We're describing how chemicals interact. And it's that confusion of what the science states as valid. And it's like chemical reactions don't validate the shape of an atom. But they do validate that these things interact in particular ways and produce certain other things in particular ways repeatedly and demonstrably. There's no issue, but they're throwing that out as well. And that's
the data. There's so much data. And the molecule has basically been derived from all the weighing and measuring with all that chemical data. That's how they derived it, I think.
It comes from quantum mechanics. Chemistry is based on quantum mechanics. And I'd like to go back to another point.
But yes, chemistry is much older than quantum mechanics.
We've seen, but the periodic table, as we know it right now, would not exist without quantum mechanics.
Well, maybe quantum mechanics finished it.
Adam, tell him.
He's right, mate.
Maybe it finished it up.
Yeah, but they're in support of each other. That they don't contradict is the important thing for me. They're not opposing theories.
Well,
I'm
going to have to personally verify that to give a response to that.
And you go ahead and do that. I'd like to get back with Adam. Adam, you said Adam and atoms. Adam, you said that we've never seen atoms.
Yeah, directly. We've never. It's a physical impossibility to optically observe an atom itself.
Hold on a second. It depends on what you're saying, because we have definitely seen him with the transmission electron microscopes.
Yeah. So mechanistic, we can derive a shape, can't we? We can derive certain assumptions, but to actually optically see it, I think, is the point that's opposed to us.
Oh, yeah, but that's kind of weaseling the way out there with the optical.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. I'd have to concede on that as well. Well weaseled, Adam. I love it.
He said he squeezed optical in there, right?
Yeah, totally.
You can't look at it with your eyeball through a lens, right? And I'd have to concede that too, right? So yeah. I only smile because it reminds me. I'm sorry to take this slightly off a tangent. I will bring it back on. I promise, both of you. But I remember early on in Flat Earth, right? Somebody telling me that they'd seen the lunar rover on the moon, and they went to Goonhilly Observatory to see it, and they told me all about it. And I was like, no, but did you see it? Could you see it through the lens? No, it got to that stage when I was contacting Goonhilly, but the person that told me they saw the lunar rover said they saw it on a monitor. But basically they were being told, you're seeing it through this telescope. Bullshit, right? Total lies. Anyway, I contacted Goonhilly and I'm like, what I want to do is look at it through a lens. And they got back in touch and were like, no, you can't. It's too small. You couldn't resolve it with Hubble if you pointed Hubble at the moon. It's just too small. The point being that you want to actually look at it, right? You want to stick your eye up to the lens and have a bloody good look, as opposed to, here's a computer monitor, and we get the same shit. This is slightly off on another tangent. I promise I will bring it back. With the double slit quantum eraser, or just the double slit. They will say, oh, right, well, it's on a monitor. You go, no. That's just because we're using modern photographic technology rather than a bloody emulsion plate. That's all that is. But because it's now on a monitor, they go, oh, no, we're not really seeing.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Anyway, bring it back on track.
Go ahead, finish up.
No, I was just going to bring it back on track, but you can do it for me.
No, you're right. I liked how, Adam, that was really cool. You know what you did, right?
Yeah, well, I'm being naughty, but it's critique I've had from years. I mean, John Savage is the one that put it at me, and I tried, and I did have to concede the point that no, optically, it's not visible, but that doesn't mean we can't draw all sorts of inference from ways in which we can image.
Yeah, the optical, with the scanning transmission electron microscope, you can see them. But you can't see them. No optical telescope. You'll never be able to see them.
Yeah.
Right.
Microscope.
And then you got tunneling microscope too to give a 3D. I'm sorry.
It's only because you said telescope. That was all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Microscope. Did I say telescope?
It's
minor. There are no scanning transmission electron telescopes.
But if I can bring it back, and I'm not decrying anybody, but I think we are. A good example was chatting with Ranty this morning, and we were talking about the temperature of a vacuum. And as I said to him, well, there isn't a temperature of a vacuum. There's nothing in there to have a temperature.
Exactly.
There's nothing in there with energy to have. And it's that basic comprehension. That's why I texted you guys last night. I think for the debate, it would be great these guys to comprehend what temperature is.
That was the initial question, Paul. I'm sorry to interrupt, Adam. That's the initial question Paul placed when this first started a few weeks ago. That's the pivotal point right there. And he couldn't answer it. And we've been going down this road that we shouldn't have been on. We're like, in La La Land, but that's the question, and Paul should have stuck with it and had him answer, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's what that.
Go ahead.
It's that if the guys can comprehend that, then they'll start to. I was trying to say to Randy, it's really complicated stuff, and if people had just paid attention to John's first presentations when he keeps pulling those lovely pictures of the three states, gas, liquid, and solid, to comprehend what's going off there, and to comprehend how that interplays with how we perceive temperature, whether that be ourselves or by a device, how that temperature is actually constructed into the device or into our skin through the interplay of the molecules. That's why air is such a poor conductor of heat. It's why water's better, and it's. Right. I think it's the basic physical chemistry understanding that's leading to some confusion, such as, well, it's really cold in a vacuum. Well, it's not anything. The molecules up in, let's take the Bohr model. Just don't beat me up for it. But if we go up high into the ionosphere, those molecules are reported to have immensely high individual temperatures. There's just sod all of them up there. But one
Right,
transferred
exactly.
What do you mean, right, exactly? What, if you use the Bohr model, what?
Yeah, I know in Ball La La Land, but okay then. Okay, even
that's not Ball La La Land. I mean, okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. What do you mean it's not Ball La La Land? What do you know of the sky? Let's hear this.
I know there's a container.
Red herrings aren't allowed.
Yeah, that's right. You got me.
What's this thermosphere you speak of?
That's right. Well, we got to use their story, right? Yeah, I haven't been up into the thermosphere. I can understand how the thermosphere, how it could be so hot. You know, yeah, you could put your hand out in it and you won't get burned. Why? Because there's no convection.
Hold on. No. I'm not allowing this. No way. What's the thermosphere? What's the thermosphere?
What do you mean, what's the thermosphere?
What's gravity? Same question, but with thermosphere before.
Well, let me remove it out of that then. Let me remove it. Let's put it back to the data that Paul's been presenting. And if we were to look at that,
you got me out of that.
We would. Yeah, I know. I'm trying myself. We would take the density, the pressure up there of those molecules, and we can see that the density of the air up there is reducing massively. However, the temperature's going up. Well, the average internal energy, the kinetic energy of those molecules, is massively higher than when there's a much more dense concentration of the same particle. So to give an outside reading of, say, 20 degrees, these are arbitrary figures, at much higher, much less pressure, less density of the air, then those individual particles are much more heavily energized than the ones lower down, where you're getting the same temperature equivalents, because they're hitting you and expressing heat change a lot higher. Energy transference is occurring from each individual atom to the thing it's hitting. So,
and why is that temperature so high?
Yeah, the molecules are much more highly energized to give you the same 20 degrees.
Why?
Well, because the sun's hitting them and charging.
Exactly. They're getting bombarded by the full spectrum of solar radiation. Exactly. You got it.
Says who?
Well,
hold on. No. I don't mind asking a few housekeepers. What's the distance to the sun then?
I don't know the distance to the sun.
Well, how do you know they're getting bombarded? Because they're closer then.
Well, because
was it observed to be there?
Hold on a second. I'll answer. Now, we're in the ball paradigm, right?
No, we're not. What
we are. Hold on a second.
No, we're not.
We are.
Why are we doing this?
I'm not in the ball paradigm.
Yeah, we're in the ball paradigm.
Okay, I'm going on mute. I'm not even going to listen.
Well, we have to take.
Can't deal with it.
Somebody's got to be on the witness stand, right? It's the ball paradigm. Everything is established through the ball paradigm, correct? So they're on the witness stand. Now we take everything that they say. That includes the levels of the atmosphere, and that includes the thermosphere. What I'm doing is I'm in the ball paradigm, debunking the ball paradigm. You can come off mute. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but nobody's arguing the ball paradigm. Who's a globehead? Nobody's arguing it. We're just discussing what potentially the sky is in terms of what you logically extract from. Admittedly, I mean, it's a far better way of explaining what could be up there than David Dallas does. And I understand the logical inference that's drawn, but it's no different in terms of the fact that it's just a logical inference you're drawing.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think,
on... Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, yes. Me, John. Go.
Yes, but I'm using their story, and parts of the story are correct. You can't have a complete fabrication. You got to have little bits of truth in it somewhere to give it some. You got to have a little cowbell.
Oh well, I'll let Russian vids know, and off you go.
No, okay. let me try and save this, John. Then I pulled it back to
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Now we can't give causation as to what's energizing those atoms and giving
Oh,
them.
yes, I can.
We can't. Nathan's right. We can't give causation of sun. Now in the Bohr model, the causation is the sun, but all
Yes,
we can
I
say
can, though.
is that those molecules are
Hold on,
much highly
hold on,
energized.
hold on, Adam. Go ahead then, QE.
Based on their paradigm, right? The atmosphere, we already
I've
know
heard
the
enough.
atmosphere.
Carry on, Adam. I've heard enough.
Whoa, wait a second. What do you mean?
Based on their like I give a crap.
No, wait a second. You didn't let me finish here. Okay, take their paradigm out. We know that the atmosphere density levels, the density of the atmosphere has a gradient. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're a bit apprehensive, right? Now, the sun, the thickness of the atmosphere and the components in the atmosphere, the sun is above that. No matter the distance, the sun is above that. Can we agree on that?
No.
We can't agree that the sun is above the atmosphere.
No.
No, you don't have any evidence of
Right.
any distance.
All right. Well, we could stop right there then.
Fine. I'm happy with that. We get a little violin out for those who believe they knew the distance to the sun.
I didn't say that's not my argument. That's a
I'm not
fucking
talking
red
to you.
herring fallacy.
I'm talking to those who are watching that thought, oh no, I thought that argument was going to give me some knowledge of what our world was. No, I'm afraid not.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why those molecules of gas are higher energy and why the temperature is already getting warmer. We already know that, right?
No.
Do we know that from the graph that Paul put up?
We
Even at
know
120,000 feet, it's starting to get warmer.
Yeah.
Right?
What we do
Why
know,
is
John,
that?
from the data is that as we go up, the pressure decreases, but strangely, there comes a point halfway up where the loss of energy that the molecules appear to be having are getting cooler and cooler and cooler. The perceived temperature suddenly reverses. Now, physics would tell us that something has to be energizing those particles. We can't draw the full inference as to what it is. We can make a bloody good guess and use logic to say it's the sun, but actually scientifically we can't say that. But we can say that they are certainly exhibiting an increase in their internal energy, these molecules, as we go up into, which would imply they are being energized from somewhere, which is what? Well, that's about as far as
You're right to hesitate at that point, because beyond that inference, which is perfectly reasonable, what are you going to say? What else is there to say? Because you've got to start making more inferences on inferences at that point, haven't you?
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Not really, because there's certain types of radiation coming from the sun. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got X-rays, extreme UV that are not reaching the surface. Can we agree on that?
These are just conventions.
No,
I'm only joking.
I can't agree on that.
No, that's not just a convention.
I was just joking. I was being Spurs for a moment just for fun, but I was waiting for Arwin to say what he's just said. Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, I don't agree on that. Those are claims. It's
not
the
agree or
atmosphere
disagree.
absorbs all kinds of radiation from the sun, presupposing that it is outside of our atmosphere. That's part of that presupposition system. So I don't know.
You're back. That's not my argument. I don't know what you're arguing here.
Well, you're saying that the atmosphere is absorbing specific types of radiation that never reach the ground, and I'm saying I have no confirmation of that's actually the case.
Fair enough. We can stop, because I'm going to stop right there.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who've tuned in on this premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out NathanOakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!